Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
I think. I think actually to comment on why Ethiopia has to mend relations is because of the position in which Ethiopia is as the host of the headquarters of the African Union. I think that could be one of the reasons. Of course, there may be other reasons, but that is part of the reason. The Ethiopia is hosting is the administrative capital of the African continent. So it feels obliged, I think, sort of to temper down a little bit on its anger and be accommodative a little bit, which is unlike, Eritrea. So Eritrea just feels like we have to show the bully that, he doesn't belong here. Okay, outright, we have to push out the bully to get out of this place. Yeah, so I think that could explain also the behavior of Ethiopia. But I think that it is also a strategic move. Like I said, it teaches us, as Ethiopia is doing a lot of things which are teaching other African countries how to behave, and how to respond when attacked by these imperialists. Because you can see that uh, in some way uh, uh, Ethiopia has sort of taken control over the whole of the East African region and even the Horn of Africa. Uh, like if you remember, as we have been analyzing in the past, these things when they started, these conflicts when they started, the Prime Minister Abiy was in the region, garnering up support, gathering all the support of the region, even way back, starting with the issue of the goddamn when Egypt was misbehaving in the region also. That the Prime Minister was in the region. He was not in the United Nations. He was in the region. So empowering. And actually what he has done, it has empowered even the African Union itself, because this is someone who has believed so much in the African Union. So I think that is credit. That is Ethiopia's credit, that the African Union has been empowered, to be able to do what it has not been doing, what it's supposed to do. And we see that African Union has even transferred this same attitude and approach, to Democratic Republic of Congo, as you are seeing that now they are trying to settle the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo between Congo and Rwanda. Okay, so the African Union is greatly right now involved in this situation. So it's a great, I think it is a great lesson that we, learning on how Ethiopia has approached this situation. There's need for us to continue to be firm as Africans, and there's need for us to work together, because without working together, these guys will swallow us. We cannot afford to isolate us, to isolate ourselves. And I can see that President Afaki also, I mean, recently he called, President Ruto, he invited him to Ethiopia, and they were moving through the streets. So I think there's need for us to continue to come together, as we have seen that the imperialists themselves have become weakened, as it has been rightly mentioned, even in the statement by Eritrea, the statement which Eritrea issued. It mentioned that this declining hegemony, so when you are talking about this declining hegemony, it is then important for us as Africans to recognize that it is time for us to come together, especially the progressive, forces on the continent. And I can see that, of course, Ethiopia and Eritrea have gone in this direction, but there's need to pull the others on board. People who have been suffering on this continent for a very long time. For example, Zimbabwe. There's a need for Ethiopia and Eritrea to work closely with Zimbabwe, work closely with Mali, with Mali, who has just thrown off French colonialism, work closely with Burkina Faso. So this is the direction I think I would like to see more. And I've seen Prime Minister Abiy going to, Algeria, trying to, to create those links and those strong, relations. So it is important that we continue to work together. That's the only way I think that we can defeat the bully, as we have seen in the region right now. The United States is isolated in the region. When you look at the Horn of Africa, you look at the whole of East Africa, is isolated. because it's unwanted, or in the region, and it's just trying to push itself in the region, to force itself. So in some cases, you can see that it has become a nagging, sort of a nagging partner, or you can say nagging partner. You see, and I think that because Ethiopia is seeing this also, that the United States is unwanted in the region. That is where you see that Ethiopia also gets this confidence to issue that a strong, such a strong, statement, because it knows that the United States will not run to Uganda and get support. There's no support over there. It will not run to Kenya or Rwanda, and get support. It will not run anyway. It will not go to Eritrea and get any support around this region. There's no support for the United States. Everyone is, I think Africans are trying to take care of themselves, their affairs. The only thing I see that we are missing is to complete the circle. We have to complete the circle by, working together, tightly, to hold our hands together. I think that way we'll be then able to push the United States out of the continent.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I respond? Add to what you already said. The Eritrean position, I think, was after trying to maintain relation with the US for a very long time. Eritrea had been avoiding being, with this camp or with that camp. Let's work together, yeah. And it had tried with the US several times. It's just given up, yeah. They say that those guys are not rehabilitated. There's no possibility of rehabilitating, American foreign policy. Yeah, it's as brutal as it has ever been, and just dismissing it from that perspective. That's where they are. And obviously, Ethiopia hasn't given hope. Yeah, there's a possibility of not only a detente, but also a stronger relationship, and a similar fashion that Ethiopia had been working with the Chinese as well as with the US, comfortably for a very long time. So it wants to be able to do that. Yeah. But the US, I'm not sure if it is in that position. It's just wanting to jolt, anything out of everybody in order to remain hegemonic state. And remember, he issued this just days after he left Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And a very adversarial statement.
Absolutely.
It was, he started to behave like a judge. Now, I decide, you don't. Yeah? I am the judge, and I tell you what you should do. Yeah. And then, of course, it's also throwing a wedge between the different parties. Yeah. And particularly between Eritrea and Ethiopia. And I was hoping that there will be cracks between Eritrea and Ethiopia. And it's forcing Ethiopia either to say that Eritrea had committed and therefore should be investigated, or somehow create some tension between those two states. And then, of course, TPLF just going increasingly into becoming ever more dependent on central government. They haven't liked that, so you throw a spanner in that process as well. So all that is carefully designed, yeah, to continue this difficulty, this chaos, and then in that they will be able to find a particular way of extracting certain advantages, which they think that they will be able to. That's what it is. This whole thing is all about, yeah. And ultimately, it is they perceiving everything through this prism of their competition with the Chinese, and that's also very problematic. And they're making us feel that we don't care about human rights. That's what they're telling us. Our institutions are incapable of handling those issues. I mean, transnational justice, as if we don't care about our brethren and sisters, yeah, in different parts of the region. We do, and that has to be called out. Yeah, you are far enough coming from elsewhere, telling us that we don't care about each other, and you think you care more about ourselves than. It just doesn't add up. So it has to be called out, and I think both governments has managed to do that effectively. And of course, the ping pong. You could. I don't know if they had sat and discussed, and I would say this and you say that. I don't think they have gone that route, but it looked like it is a ping pong somehow. You could see it.
Yeah.